Hello, welcome to U.S. History and Alt U.S. History A, Unit 3. This is honestly one of my favorite units, and I probably say that every time. I actually spent a year while I was in brick and mortar school learning about westward expansion, and so this is just so super fun for me. I love this stuff here. So, anyway, make sure that you take out your focus notes because I'm going to give some answers to the focus notes and answers to the quiz that will be right after this. Okay. So, first of all, it starts off with a lesson about President Andrew Jackson. And the reason that Jackson was elected was first because he was recognized um, as a war hero in the Battle of New Orleans in the War of 1812. So that's kind of interesting. Another thing is that he kind of made himself out to be the common man. And he was the common man. He was actually from not Virginia, which was where I think all presidents up to this point were from. He was more west of Virginia. And so he showed that he wanted to benefit the common people because he was the common man. So, kind of interesting right there. He was actually a really interesting president. He had the Trail of Tears, where he realized that there was some good things to be had with the land that some Indians lived on, and so they were all put on reservations, and he did a lot to do with the bank. And anyway, he was quite the guy. All right, the next lesson that there is about Texas in the West. Um, and a lot of tensions between the Mexicans and the Americans were because the Americans didn't learn Spanish, and they also had slaves, and the Mexicans didn't like that all that much. Okay, so so there were kind of some tensions between the Mexicans and the Americans. All right, so then we have the lesson about the Mexican-American War, and this one talks about the idea of manifest destiny. And that is the term used to say that America is going to be the ones who are in charge of the Western Hemisphere, and Europe needs to just kind of butt out because they're not welcome here. And so then there were some disputes between the Mexicans and the Americans, and yeah, so that's what they fought over. All right, then the last, well, no, not last, the second to last. There's a lesson on the abolitionist movement and and there were a lot of things that were in the abolitionist movement. Honestly, the Civil War happened because of the West. Because to start off with, the Civil War was fought to help keep slavery out of the West, okay? And there were a lot of things that were kind of going on with the West, and that the Northerners really did not want to have happen, okay? There was the Underground Railroad, which was one of the captains on it, I guess. One of the leaders of the Underground Railroad was Harriet Tubman. So she was a really interesting person for it. Uncle Tom's Cabin was a book written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. She had actually never been to the South. She was from the North. And so, because of that, the Southerners really hated the book, and it made them so that they defended slavery even more passionately. Okay, so that was kind of a bad thing. All right, so then we have the last lesson about sectional conflict. the North and the South were very, very different from each other. The North had, the manufacturing and stuff like that. The South had the farms, all of that kind of stuff. Um, so the people who wanted slavery to be out were in the North. Now, the people in the South really lived off of slavery, and they couldn't imagine not having slavery. These two pictures that you see right here, one is the lower one, of course, is Abraham Lincoln, and the upper one is John Brown. They were both very interesting characters at this time. Of course, Abraham Lincoln was elected in 1860 to be the president of the United States. But John Brown was one who started a raid on Harper's Ferry in West Virginia. And he and Abraham Lincoln actually had a lot in common, a ton in common. They both lost their mothers at a young age. Um, they both lost a lover at a young age. They just had a lot of really kind of interesting things in common. So the question comes, why is it that John Brown was seen as a villain and Abraham Lincoln is seen as the greatest president to ever come to the United States? And the answer really is that John Brown really had no right to do what he did, to lead the raid. But even though Abraham Lincoln really honestly caused, millions of deaths, he had the right to because he was elected to be the president. So anyway, interesting stuff. And there's so much that you can go into, and I hope that you really enjoy learning about this unit. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.